Welcome back to the channel. I'm Darren Barber, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about something sweet, simple syrups. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe below so we can keep bringing you some great content. Sugar and water has been part of cocktail design even dating back to 1806. But the problem is, sugar has a hard time dissolving in a cocktail due to the ice and the water. So enter the simple syrup. A combination of water and sugar combined, problem solved. In today's video, we're going to be making a classic simple syrup and a few variations on that too. We'll make a honey syrup, a mango syrup, a grapefruit syrup, vanilla syrup, and a basil syrup. And these will all be part of the core cocktails coming up in these videos. They'll all be time-stamped below, so you can skip to your favourite if you want. So before we get into it, let's grab a drink and enjoy. Let's get into it, grab a drink and enjoy. Cheers. So the first syrup we're going to make today is a classic simple syrup. This is a really easy one. It's just 1 part sugar to 1 part water, and it's the backbone to a lot of cocktails and an essential for your home bar. So we're going to make 250ml batches. It'll keep for about a week to 2 weeks in the fridge. So all we do is we measure out 150 grams of sugar, just using caster sugar here. Place that into a saucepan with equal parts water. So 150 mils of water, 150 grams of water. Then we bring that to the boil. Making sure all the sugar's dissolved. This will give us a longer shelf life and a slighter, sweeter syrup as well. Once this comes to the boil and the sugar's dissolved, you can turn it off. Let it cool for a bit. Once cooled, pour the sugar syrup into a jar. There you go, simple syrup. Alrighty, now the next syrup we're going to make is a vanilla syrup. So a vanilla syrup works really well with a coffee liqueur and goes perfectly in espresso martini. It's a very simple syrup, very similar to the simple syrup. It's just 1 part sugar, 1 part water, and we'll put in some vanilla bean as well. So we just measure out the sugar again, 150 grams of the sugar into the saucepan with equal parts water. So 150 grams of the water into the saucepan. We get our vanilla bean and we'll slowly slice it up. And we place the vanilla into the saucepan. Turn the hot plate on. Bring to the boil, stir until all the sugar is dissolved. Now once your vanilla syrup has come to the boil and all the sugar is dissolved, you can grab a jar, let it cool, and pour it straight into the jar. You can strain out the vanilla bean if you want, but I'd recommend keeping it in there. Just makes the vanilla syrup become a little bit more intense over time. Alrighty, Alrighty, the next syrup is one here from the tropics, a mango syrup. This is a bit of a hack. You can use fresh mangoes, but they are hard to get at some parts of the year. So today we're going to be using mango nectar. So again, it's just 1 part mango nectar to 1 part sugar. So we'll pour in 150 mils, 150 grams of our mango nectar. And then top that with 150 grams of our caster sugar. All into the saucepan. Bring it to the boil. Once it's at boiling point, make sure all the sugar's dissolved. Let it cool. Once the syrup is cool enough to put into the jar, pour it in. And there's the mango syrup. Alrighty, next up, we're going to do a honey syrup. A honey syrup is part of a delicious gin cocktail called a bee's knees, but honey itself has a hard time dissolving in a cocktail because of the ice, so we need to dilute it down with a bit of water. So the ratio for a honey syrup is 2 to 1. So we're going to do 200 grams of some local honey. Pour that into the saucepan. And we'll top that up with 100 grams of some water. And we'll bring that to the boil, just to let the honey dissolve into the water. Give it a good stir. As soon as it starts to boil, turn the heat off, so we don't want it to boil too much and burn the honey. Once cool, take your honey syrup into the jar, and it's ready for your next bee's knees cocktail. Next up, we're going to make a basil syrup. So a basil syrup is a perfect syrup for a basil smash cocktail, which works perfectly with one of our gins and is a delicious summer drink. So to start with, it's the same process as a simple syrup. 1 part sugar, 150 grams into the saucepan, followed by equal parts of water, 150 grams of water, into the saucepan, and we'll grab some fresh basil. And you just want to grab a whole bunch of leaves off, just roughly with your hand, scrunching them up, just to make sure we get all the oils and the flavours out of the basil. Bring it to the boil. Stir in the whole time, just to make sure the basil doesn't burn. Once it comes to boiling, turn it off and let it cool. So once the basil syrup has come to the boil and you've allowed it to cool, we want to strain out the basil leaves in these ones because they will go off sitting in the syrup. And there's your basil syrup, ready for your next basil smash cocktail. Alrighty, the last syrup we're making here is a grapefruit syrup. So grapefruit syrup works really well on a grapefruit spritz, works delicious with our gin, and we've got some really special cocktails coming up in the future on this channel using this syrup. So again, it's just 1 part sugar, so 150 grams of the sugar, into the saucepan, and just some store-bought ruby grapefruit juice. So 150 grams of that as well. These are just really simple, easy syrups that you can make at home. Nothing too complicated. Turn the heat on, Bring it to the boil, stirring the whole time just to make sure the sugar dissolves. As soon as it comes to the boil, turn off and take off the heat and allow it to cool before we put it into the jar. Once cool, pour into the jar. And we've got a grapefruit syrup ready to go. So there we have it, we've got 6 simple cocktail syrups, all based off a simple syrup. And over the next few episodes, we'll be making some cocktails with these syrups. So hope to see you guys again in the next episode. Cheers. Cool. So hard to keep remembering it all. Of cocktail design. Should we go from the top? Sugar has been part of... Oh, fuck. Cool, sound good? Yeah. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Darren Barber, and in today's episode...